Hey guys, Abby here. Welcome to Love Abby, where we share stories and experiences that might help those who are going through a difficult time right now. And this is a safe space, wala pong judgmental dito. Everything that we say here is meant to help and not to offend. And I know that many of us are going through many difficult things. And though our stories may be different, we share the same lessons. So sino-sino pa bang magtutulungan kundi tayo-tayo lang din? The world needs a lot more love and a lot more people helping each other through the stormy seasons of our lives. So let's make the world a better place, one story at a time. I decided to make another video on this topic because I still get a lot of messages about this. The feeling of feeling lost. And syempre kasama na doon yung mga pagbabago na nangyayari sa buhay natin. I feel like this is something that many of us, if not all of us, go through at some point in our lives. And like I always say, this can come to us at any age. And nangyayari to hindi lang once, minsan paulit-ulit. I am too familiar with this feeling. Sobrang daming beses kong na-experience to sa buhay ko. And one thing that I can say is that it only gets better. Of course, with God's help and a lot of patience. Patience with yourself, the people around you, and your situation. I might sound like a broken record kasi paulit-ulit kong sinasabi yan. If you're following the previous episodes, maririnig nyo kung sinasabi ko to palagi. But because I can't stress it enough, patience is one thing that I think is the most important virtue or one of the important virtues that we must have. Without patience, baka nasira na natin lahat ng magagandang plano ni Lord para sa atin. 'Di ba? So I hope that this episode will remind all of us that the feeling of feeling lost is just a phase. If anything, I hope that this episode helps us realize and acknowledge that feeling lost is actually a good thing because it is an opportunity for us to find better versions of ourselves, to change the things that don't work for us, and to change things or parts of us that could possibly stunt our growth. Yung mga bagay na pwedeng humadlang sa pag-grow natin into the people that we are meant to become. As humans, it is only natural that we evolve. 'Di ba hindi ka siguro tao kung hindi ka nagbabago? That's why you'll also notice that the person you are now is far from the person that you were 2 years ago or 5 years ago. We change. People change. And that's sometimes a difficult fact that we and the people around us need to accept. This process of change, we sometimes feel like we lose ourselves, like we lose our identities. But in reality, we are just changing. Minsan magugulat ka na lang sa mga pagbabagong na-experience mo. From the smallest to the biggest details about you. Like ako dati, sobrang favorite ko yung color purple and pink, 'di ba? Sobrang girly. Ayoko talaga ng kahit anong mga dark colors kasi feeling ko pang lalaki na 'yon. But now, nagbago na yung favorite color ko. Kahit ako nasya-shock ako sa sarili ko na bet ko talaga yung kulay na to. Favorite color ko ngayon mga teal, mga army green, mga ganong klaseng kulay na. And it is so different. That's just one little thing that's changed. So if a small detail like that can change over time, what more the other aspects of our lives, like our attitude, our character, and personalities. Diba? The way we speak, the way we act, the way we move around, the way we treat people, the way we handle certain situations. Minsan mapapansin mo kung dati hindi ka masyadong resilient sa mga certain na mga situations, ngayon kayang-kaya mo na. Or maybe vice versa. Baka yung mga hiyang sa'yo dati na mga sitwasyon, hindi na hiyang sa'yo ngayon. Diba? Those things can change too. But, change is uncomfortable, painful even sometimes. Minsan feeling mo ibang tao ka na and you start to feel like you've lost yourself. But you haven't. You just grew. And growth is only possible with change. You're just starting to become the person you're meant to be. But sometimes we have trouble accepting that kasi hindi yun ang nakasanayan natin. Whenever we go through a change, Sometimes there are certain things that we need to let go of or, remove from ourselves or our lives. Sometimes it's a certain attitude or a certain situation or even a certain person. At ito minsan yung rason kung bakit minsan sinasabi sa'yo ng mga tao na nagbago ka na. Kasi you no longer act the way you used to. But this is not always a bad thing. Especially, syempre, when you change, you have to change for the better din naman. Hindi din naman maganda yung nagbago ka, naging mas masamang tao ka. Syempre, iba din yon. But, it is not always a bad thing. Because we know that there are really some things that we need to let go of and change para mas mag-grow tayo ng mas maayos. Just like pruning. Mga plantito at plantita dyan, I'm sure familiar kayo with this term. But if you've never heard about pruning before, pruning is the process of removing or cutting off dead leaves or dead branches from a tree or a plant para mas maganda ang tubo nung plant. Therefore, giving it more space to grow and bear fruit or to flower. 'Di ba pag hindi mo tinanggal yung mga dead leaves na yan or yung mga branches na mamamatay na, then mahihirapan yung puno na magbunga, 'di ba? Or mahihirapan yung plant to bear fruit or to grow its flowers. So parang ganun din tayo. There is a season in our lives where we are being pruned. And this usually is the season where we feel lost, where we feel a lot of pain because we are changing. There are many things in our lives na binabago natin or nagbabago. So we are being pruned. And it sounds painful, no, 'di ba? Removing or cutting away those dead branches. But like I said, change is sometimes a painful and uncomfortable process. And just like the bad branches that need to be taken out in order for a tree to bear fruit, the negative things in our lives, the negative parts of our lives that can stunt our growth need to be removed also sa mga buhay natin para mas maganda yung growth natin, para maging mas fruitful yung growth natin. Malungkot lang din because sometimes those things that we need to remove are not just situations or attitudes, but certain people. And madalas, they are people that we love. But then again, we also have to remember that not everything that we love are good for us. Whenever this happens, whenever we lose someone important in our lives, this is also sometimes one of the reasons why we start to feel lost. Whether nawalan ka ng kaibigan, ng kapamilya, or karelasyon, or maybe not a person, maybe a certain situation, a certain career, a certain event in your life, when suddenly we feel like, ano na, diba? Ano ba talaga? Ano ba talaga yung gusto ko? Saan ba talaga ako papunta? We feel like we lose our identities also somehow because we have invested our identities and ourselves in those things. Tapos pag nawala, we feel like a part of us has also been lost. But that is still part of change. It is still part of our growth. And yes, it will be painful, but for a moment only. And sometimes we need to be crushed in order to become a better version of ourselves. We are like grapes being turned into wine. 'Di ba grapes, they need to be crushed before they can turn into wine. Don't get me wrong, grapes are already good on their own. But then again, you still think na, is that all that grapes can do? I mean, could it be anything better? 'Di ba? Hindi mo na malaya na may ipipiga pa pala to. Hindi mo na malaya na ikaw may ipipiga ka pa pala. Na if you stay the grape, you will have so many limitations. Onti lang yung function mo. Onti lang ang kaya mong gawin or onti lang ang kaya mong maging. Diba? Grapes, andyan lang, people eat it as is. You can't really do too much with grapes on its own. But if turned into wine, it has many more uses. It suddenly becomes a healthy drink if, of course, taken in moderation. Diba? It's good for the heart ginagamit din tong panluto. It suddenly becomes one of the reasons why people enjoy their gatherings. It brings a lot of happiness to people also. 'Di ba? It relieves stress for some. My point is, 'di ba? Malaki yung naging potential ng grapes nung ginawa siyang wine. Its functions became limitless. And we all have that potential to be of greater use also. Na maging unlimited yung mga kakayahan natin, yung mga kaya nating gawin. But, of course, in order for a grape to turn into wine, it requires crushing. And like us, sometimes we need to be crushed to get the best out of us. So, endure that crushing because it will definitely make a better version of you. A version of you that is limitless. The times when we feel lost is like a crushing. It is a stressful and painful experience for some. But remember that it is a temporary feeling. You will eventually find yourself again. A new version of you. A version of you who is starting again with new knowledge, new experiences, and new wisdom. And lessons that you've gained from all of that crushing. That you've gained from all of the things na pinagdaanan mo. So don't be afraid to feel lost. Because that is just another chance or another opportunity for you to start again. And don't be afraid to start again. Don't be afraid to start over because you're not starting from scratch this time. You are starting again with more knowledge, a little more experience. At dala-dala mo yun lahat. So you're not really starting from scratch. 'Di ba? You are starting with experience. And some might say na, paano kung tumatanda na ako, malapit na ako mag-30 or nasa 40s na ako, I'm in my 50s already. I can't afford to feel lost anymore. Hindi ko na dapat yan nararanasan. 'Di ba? I get messages like this all the time from people of all ages. But you know what? Thinking that we don't have the time is just a pressure that we put on ourselves. What if God wants to make you a better person after you're 50? Would you want to stay the same or would you want to be that better version of you? Sometimes in our minds, time is always running out. We always feel like rushing. We make a timeline and plan out our whole lives. But then again, that's just our plan. It's man-made, 'di ba? And all things that are man-made are fickle. They constantly change. God's plan, on the other hand, is disaster-proof. It's change-proof. Sure ka na sa plano ni Lord, goods ka. Kahit pa hindi masunod yung mga plano mo. Kahit hindi mo naiintindihan yung mga nangyayari sa'yo. Kahit hindi mo naiintindihan kung bakit nararamdaman mo pa rin yan hanggang ngayon. That feeling of being lost. So, my last advice for this episode, kasi I'm sure marami pa akong idadaldal sa inyo. My last advice for this episode is to surrender to God's will. Surrender to God's plans. Kasi kay Lord, safe ka. Sa plano ni Lord, magtatagumpay ka. 100% sure. So whenever you're feeling lost, offer up that opportunity to God to change you and renew you so that you can become the person that He created you to be. So you can become a better version of yourself. And pray for the strength to endure it. Na kahit mahirap, makakayanan mo. Makakayanan mong maghintay at makakayanan mong harapin lahat ng gustong baguhin ni Lord sa buhay mo. Trust in Him. And remember that feeling lost is just another opportunity for you to change for the better. And if you're going through a difficult time right now, I'm here to remind you that storms don't last forever. Love, Abby. If you have a story that you would like to share with us, please don't be shy to send us a message in one of the platforms below. And if you like this video, please share this to those who you think might need to hear these stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thank you for watching.